You know, over the years, we just kind of assume, oh yeah, Livingstone's over there, or is it over there someplace? And come time for elections, we try to make connections with young people who are voting, and when they matriculate, we try to connect to helping voter registration. But I don't think we've ever had somebody coming and saying, this is Livingstone, this is what we're proud of, this is why we're here. And Dr. Anthony Davis has just been president for what,
120 days.
120 days. Well, let's have it. If you cheer for him, he'll make it through the 121st. Come on up, Dr. Davis.
How much time do I have?
As much as you want.
When you know, as a preacher, I always knew that the mind can only receive what the butt can endure.
Okay.
You know, so maybe 15 minutes or so.
All right, I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Here you go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hold fast to dreams, because when dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, because when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. Good morning, I'm glad to be here. Now, I have an admission. When I pulled up, I almost came in the parking lot, couldn't find a parking space, and I wanted to go home because of stage fright. It's been a long time that I've been to a Democratic Party meeting. It's been a while, but to see as many of you here, I said, wow, we should win every election and make it blue. By the enthusiasm of you getting up on a Saturday morning to come here, but I think you wanted Jackie Miller's grits. I think that was it. I think that was it. A little bit about me as far as political. I know I'm on camera, and you know there's that saying that you have to be nonpartisan. Here's my position as president of Livingstone. Because if I show up at this meeting, I'm going to have to also show up at the Republican committee meeting, right? But here's my position, that I am nonpartisan now, but I'm pro-policy for the students and families that I serve. So if my students and their families need Medicare expansion, you know where I stand. If my students and their families are sensitive to the environment, you know where I stand. If we're talking about expanding education and access to the ballot, you know where I stand. But on the other side, if you're trying to restrict access to the ballot, you know where I stand, and you know where I'm going with this. All right. For years, I served as the first vice chair of the Democratic Party in Chatham County. I was the chair. We were undefeated in all elections. We had something called the blue ballot, and we were undefeated during my tenure. We won every election when I worked with Jan Nichols, Randy Bowler and company. So I have Democratic roots. When I share my story, it'll make sense why for most of my life, until I assumed this assignment, that I was a registered Democrat. Because again, when you look back over your life, you realize that the policies that this party has supported has helped develop me and made me who I am today. So I want every Democrat in the room to give yourselves a hand. Do I have any Livingstone College alumnus in the building? Anybody from Livingstone? Stand up, be recognized. If you're an alumnus of Livingstone, stand up, be recognized. Come on. All right. Do I have any friends of Livingstone College? Everybody better stand up. There you go, there you go. I am happy, honored, and humbled to be the president of Livingstone College. 2001, I walked across the stage after my military career, and thank you for your service. I too served in the Air Force. I told you, my AFSC 924, all right? And when I walked across the stage as an adult learner, the light bulb went off for me, and I said, I want to be the president of Livingstone College. I told my best friend that day that I wanted to be the president. And he said, wow. He said, if anybody can do it, Tony Davis, you can do it. And 21 years later, I have my dream job, the president of Livingstone College. I'm honored they made me work for it, Diddy, right? 41 candidates, and I happen to be the last one standing. 41 qualified candidates. And I emerged as the one that they selected unanimously without a dissenting vote. What an amazing story for me, but I'm honored that they selected me. Also humble though, because young men and women who have my backstory, guess what? They seldom emerge to be college presidents. You're looking at someone who was aging out of foster care. I had 90 days left. July 21st, 1983, I entered active duty for serving in the United States Air Force. October 26th would have been my 18th birthday. I graduated from high school at 17. October 26th would have been my 18th birthday. You know what happens to young men and women who age out of foster care? It's a pipeline to prison. It's a pipeline to poverty. It's a pipeline to the pressures that will drive you insane. 90 days. Went into the United States Air Force, and I served. Let me tell you about students who are emancipated from foster care age out. 3% go to college. Only 1% graduates from college. Less than 1% earns or obtains a master's degree. And even smaller numbers, less than 0.5%, go on to earn a doctorate. And I think that I'm not the first, or definitely I'm one of the first, who've been selected to be a college president. I'm humbled. My journey defines who I am and why I am. I read a quote the other day that arrested my attention, and the quote said, "God blesses you with gifts and talents that you might be a blessing to others." Then it said, "However, your journey tells you how to do it." I want that to resonate for a minute. We're all given gifts and talents to do something, to be a blessing to somebody else. But I believe it's your journey that really directs you on how to get it done. My story begins in 1965. How did I end up in foster care? My mother was from a little town down the road in Stanley County, Albemarle. 13-year-old girl gets pregnant. Family said, "Man, that's an utter disgrace. We gotta get you out of here. You're a problem, young lady." Moves to New Haven, Connecticut with her mother, and the plan was, I'm gonna raise the baby, and I'm gonna get you through college. You know what happens on the night that I was born? My grandmother dies. My mother becomes a mother and motherless in 24 hours. I'm telling you why I'm a Democrat. I'm really trying to paint the picture. Why I was a Democrat, I know this is being taped, why I was a Democrat until October 1st, 2022. She dies. My mother's awarded the state, 14 years old. Here's this newborn baby. Back then, foster care isn't what it is today. It's not much today, but it was worse back in 1965. They had no one, family members, no one wanted to take a teenage girl and a newborn baby. They took me to this lady, 9 Admiral Street, New Haven, Connecticut. The house is torn down today. It was probably dilapidated back then, but it was home for me until I was emancipated. Took me there to that home, and it's kind of humbling when I tell this story. They go to Mrs. Moore, a woman who had no children of her own, just spent her life raising foster children. She would be in the Hall of Fame for foster parents. She said, no, I can't take another baby. No, I'm getting old, I'm old. It's somebody else's turn. And they convinced her to keep me for a weekend. Said, keep him for a weekend. And if we keep him for a weekend, we'll be back on Monday, and maybe we'll find placement for him. She said she kept me for a weekend, She fell in love with me. I understand. I'm easy to fall in love with. Ask my wife for 35 years. She'll tell you I was easy to fall in love. She will tell you no. Don't believe that one. Dee Dee, don't tell her I said that. All right? Oh, I know. I'm in trouble. It's being taped. I'm being taped. But I'm giving you a little bit about my backstory because then it explains why I'm the president of Livingstone College. Just follow me and I promise I won't take up much of your Saturday. She says to me, later on when I hear the story, that when they drop me off, they drop you off with the blanket, a few Pampers, or disposable diapers back then. I don't want to advertise for Pampers. I don't know what they were. But she said that if God told me to keep you, then I'm going to need him to help me raise you. Had me baptized in the Amy Zion Church, the only church I know. Now took me to Varric Amy Zion Church, 242 Dixwell Avenue, New Haven, Connecticut. Baptized into the faith. And then she began preparing me for emancipation. I didn't know what emancipation was, but I knew my journey was different from many of the other young men and women in my community. I grew up in Elm Haven Housing Project. My house was right across the street from the largest housing project in the city. Elementary school was right across the street from my house. When I wanted to go work on my jump shot, that's why my basketball game is a little suspect. She would tell me that, no, you're not going to open gym, you're going to go to the library and open a book. She would tell me things like, you need to get your lesson. I didn't know what lesson was. But by the time I was in first grade, I already knew how to multiply. By the time I was in second grade, I already knew division. By the time I was in third grade, I was doing algebra, simple algebra, because everything was academics in that house. And I said, why do I have to do this? Nobody else does it. She says, you don't have time to waste. I didn't know what that meant. Well, everyone else had summer programs where they played basketball and baseball. She let me play Little League Baseball, but she said, no, you're going to go down to Yale. They have this special program. You qualified for it. And I would cry. I had to walk through the housing projects, being called all kinds of names, sissy, because I had to carry a little book bag and, all those things. But I excelled in math and science. And because I excelled in math and science, it was a pathway for me towards emancipation. Because in 1982, I took the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. I scored so high in math and science, they made me come back and take it again. My scores were so high. They made me take it again. I say this, that what they said was somebody from that zip code shouldn't score this high. I go into the armed services, I qualified for a career field where normally you would need at least college algebra and college chemistry. Guess what? They waived my scores. And the rest is history. I went on to be a lab tech, moving back to my community where I became a voice for the underserved. You're called to this work. But it says that who God calls, he also equips. But he says, I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. I believe that scripture. My life went from there to here. I came here in 2000 or so, went to Livingstone College and graduated magna cum laude, and they asked me to speak. And after I spoke, the same day, Algenia Warren Freeman, Catrillia Hunter, offered me the same job 2 different times on the same day. Said, we want you here at Livingstone. I was probably one of the youngest vice presidents in all 106 HBCUs in 2002, 2003. Stayed there, and then I left and continued my journey, master's degree in philanthropy and development, and earned doctorate. And then Dr. Jimmy R. Jenkins said to me, it's time for you to come back home. He was at my doctoral celebration. And he said, I need you to come back home. I said, I need an HBCU today like I need a home. Life was good for me. I was working for a national organization that was a consortium of 20 of the top business schools in the country. Don't tell anybody. I worked 3 days a week, played golf every Friday. That was part of the job. That was part of the journey, and I loved it. But I realized that God had a different calling for me, and I left that to come to Livingstone College, not with anything that was knowing. I took a risk. A risk was leave luxury, but to go help the institution that I love. When I arrived, it made sense because I walked into the pandemic. I was responsible for managing Livingstone College through that painful period where Livingstone, not like many other HBCUs who were closed for 2 semesters, some 3, we only missed maybe 4 months of the pandemic, and we were open for business for in-person instruction for the entire pandemic, serving the population that we serve. I'm saying this because Rick Warren in his book, The Purpose-Driven Life, tells us or commands us to do this, to answer this question: what are you on earth for? Why are you here? Why did God take you on your journey? Why did he put people in your path? Why did you have all of these life-changing events? And I realized that like many of the students that I serve, I too have the symbols, the symptoms, and the scars. To make it plain, I think I've been called to serve the underserved, the underrepresented, and the under-resourced. A little bit about Livingstone College. I need you to be fans of Livingstone College. Here's why. I know when they said Livingstone College should be your favorite HBCU, I had a little, no, you need to really cheer for us. You know why? Because number one, I don't look at my students as my customers, I look at them as my clients. I tell my students, I am your chief consultant. Because at the end of the day, my job is to make sure that you leave this institution with the capacity to compete and contribute in a global context with confidence and competence. Everything that I will pour into you will lead you to being able to command your rightful place in a global society. We have something new that I brought to Livingstone. Our students are resilient, relevant, and ready. All HBCUs are not created equal. Make no mistake about it. We're not an A&T. Because 97% of our students can't afford to be here. A study funded by the Robertson Foundation back in 2006 said that the students who come to Livingstone College will lack the financial wherewithal to persist, and many of them will exceed their borrowing capacity. This is 2023. With tuition rising, 97% of our students still require financial aid. Years after Brown versus the Board of Education, 73% of our students are still first-generation college attendees. All HBCUs are not created equal. We're niche-based practitioners that serve a particular segment in the population. Without a Livingstone College, we will leave young people trapped at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder with no means of escape. 55% of our population are male, 45% female, but here's a data point that I want you to hang your hat on today as we learn a little bit about Livingstone College. We service students from the state of North Carolina. There are some other HBCUs in North Carolina that cannot say that 58% of their students are in-state. We educate them, but we have very little infusion of cash coming from the state legislature. Please know this president is working on that. Because if I'm educating the students that are most vulnerable at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder, it's simple. Pay me now or pay me later. Because if they don't have access, opportunity, and exposure, they're going to drain some other systems. So why not make the investment in education rather than supporting something called incarceration? It makes sense. Livingstone College, best kept secret in higher education. We have gone through all of our accreditation cycles. School of Social Work, accredited. Teacher education, accredited. Also, the big one, SACS, Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. A school with an endowment of only $6 million. A meager $6 million. Was able to navigate a SACS reaffirmation process without one sanction or one recommendation. That was a point. I need to get you cue cards so I can say, please clap. You have PWIs with 9-figure endowments that cannot navigate reaffirmation without sanctions and recommendations. That means our financial house is in order, our academic house is in order, and we demonstrated through our quality enhancement program that we have a focus on education moving into the future. We're unapologetically on mission. I've been in the news lately because of crumbling infrastructure and irresponsible journalism. That's right. Because you can't take an allegation and run with it without any facts, but they get away with it. But I want you to know that this president, I was in the office of the general manager, and I told them that you can't continue to do that, because if you continue to do that, I'm going to show you what this president is all about. And I'm not saying that I'm about to be a bully or beat someone up, but you don't have the right to taint my economic model with things that are not factual and then never go on record of retracting statements. I can't continue to let you do that because you impact what we're trying to do on our campus. It impacts our economic model. Here's something that you know about Livingstone College. I'm going to give you a quiz at the end. Every year, we give students and their families $4.2 million, whether in discounts or actual scholarships. $4.2 million. That comes out of our annual operating budget. We believe that our students deserve that. $4.2 million. Think about $4.2 million over 5 years. I could put a new building on the campus every 5 years if I elected not to put it into bricks and mortar, but instead I believe that we put it into our greatest resource, and that's being our students. $4.2 million. Again, I told you my vision statement. We are a higher education institution where our students will have the capacity to compete and contribute in a global context with competence and confidence. They'll be ready, resilient, relevant, and ready. Under my leadership, our goal is to make sure that when our students graduate, they will, 1, be career ready. Number 2, they'll be ready for graduate and professional school. And number 3, military or public services. Something that you didn't know about Livingstone College. If you subscribe to U.S. News and World Report, everyone does the happy dance when it comes out. I can't do the happy dance right now because Livingstone College is in the bottom quartile. 106 HBCUs were in the bottom quartile. I'm always going to be authentic and transparent. We're in the bottom quartile, sister, right? But you have to understand why we're in the bottom quartile. Because we're taking the students who are academically at risk, where other institutions in this state will turn them away and not give them opportunity. Livingstone College says we're going to take them. And I'm not calling our students dirt. I just want you to get the metaphor. Mining for gold is a dirty business. It's a dirty business. And everything you catch in the pan, you're not going to be able to keep. We lose 50% of our students freshman year for a number of reasons. What U.S. News and World Report doesn't report are the number of students who get healthy, who are locked out of the A&Ts, locked out of the Centrals, locked out of the Fayetteville States, locked out of educational opportunity. And we said, come. And then when they get healthy, they go to those schools because those schools are more affordable, they're more attractive, and they have more amenities. But yet, We keep many of those students. But I like what U.S. News and World Report said about Livingstone College. We're flying the flag all over our campus. They said Livingstone College is ranked number 20 for something called social mobility. You know what that means? We take poor students and then we put them on the path to prosperity. That's what we do. That's the summary. I'm almost done, but I need you to know this. The next time they say, what's your favorite HBCU in Rowan County? Because we're the only one. You need to clap. You know why? Because we have a $49 million economic impact to this city and this region. Think about this. If we disappeared, kapoof, 49 million. In a city that's plagued with some of the problems that major cities are plagued with, I told my good friend Greg Ed, you can't afford for Livingstone to not be a thriving Livingstone. Because as we go, populations in this city and in this county go. What am I saying to you this morning? $49 million. $49 million will go. But my commitment as president is to make sure that you view Livingstone College as an asset to this community. Because I believe that we have something to contribute. This wasn't on my notes, but it's near and dear to all of you in this room, because all of you in this room care about health inequities, don't you? Yes. You all care about the achievement gap. Yes. You all care about the gunfire that's going on in this community. Yes. What I have said to the superintendent, Mayor Karen Alexander, and to Greg Ed, that this community needs to come together. And I will come as the president and chief executive officer of Livingstone College, because I want Livingstone College to be a solutions provider to many of the challenges that we face as a community, a collective community. And nobody clapped on that one, but someone has to be intentional about dealing with the achievement gap in certain communities. Someone has to be intentional about showing young men and women that there are opportunities beyond picking up the gun and going on the corner selling drugs. Somebody has to be in that business. A little bit about Livingstone College. I have problems that keep me up at night, but I got good sleep last night because I made it through my first board meeting. I made it through my first board meeting in Founders Day. Woo! Man. Leading up to that, I was wondering, because there have been presidents who had board meetings you thought it was okay. At Livingstone, Founders Day, they announcing a new president. I was on pins and needles. But I made it through. Gave my 100-day report. My plan is to make that available to everyone. I will be trusting, trustworthy, and transparent. I shared it with the board. We're going to be sending it out. It's going to be on our website, so stay tuned. But the problems that plague us, I shared that with you. Policies, the competitive nature of higher education, deferred maintenance, crumbling infrastructure, lack of resources for our students. I can tell it all. But when I interviewed for the job, it was really a consultative session, I felt, because I told them, here are our problems, but if you elect me as president, you select me as president, I will deploy a 5-pillar strategy, that will protect Livingstone College and propel her into the future. And they said, tell us those 5 pillars. And I told them that, first of all, we will build and sustain enrollment. Schools like Livingstone College, 70% of our revenue comes from what? Students. So we have to build enrollment. How do you build enrollment? You have to recruit students, but then you have to retain students. So we're deploying wraparound services. I have new staff members who will not only recruit students, I have a new individual who is dealing with just retention. What are the barriers that force students to leave so that we can keep what we catch? Engagement. I'm here this morning to engage you. Engaging our alumni, our political leaders, to engage our business community, the philanthropic community, to talk about empowerment. New program that I've launched is called From College to Career. It's where I'm partnering with business and industry, and I'm putting them face to face with the product that we produce. See, it makes no sense for students to go in debt to obtain a college education, and then when they graduate, they're unemployed and underemployed. So in my first 100 days as president, 120 days, I'll spread it out, but it was really in the first 100 days, we have developed recruiting relationships with Walmart, but not Walmart cashiers, but Walmart corporate, where our students can go into leadership development programs, so in the pathway for management opportunities. Empowerment. Did you know that our STEM offerings are one of the best in the state? We have a new machine, a liquid chromatography mass spectrophotometer. It's a big deal. Empowering our students. These are just some of the things that we're doing. Also, yesterday I made a big announcement about economics. I announced yesterday that I've secured $4 million in capital development funds so that I can begin refurbishing our residence halls. $4 million. And then because I'm managing the economic model and not the budget, I found another $3 million, so $7 million. We will start refurbishing our residence halls immediately. The last thing I'll say is about our endowment. Our endowment is $6 million. If you know anything about endowments, here's the formula. For every dollar of budget, you need a dollar in endowment. Livingstone College, our endowment cannot help us or sustain us. With a $6 million endowment, with a 5% return, you're looking at $30,000 a year. That's not much. That's maybe one scholarship, 1.5 scholarships. That's it. I have to build the endowment. My inauguration is coming up. One of the reasons why I tabled my inauguration, and someone said, why are you doing your inauguration a year later? I said, because I'm in the business of doing the work rather than having the party. I need to start raising money and raising the profile of the institution. Celebrate it next September. I would have been a year in, and then I might be worthy of the party. But what I'm going to say about that is part of that is making sure that we secure resources. I'm giving you the cliff notes to my speech. I needed time to pull it together for September. But my plan is that by the time my first contract is over, that we'll at least double the endowment at Livingstone College. I say this to you, and I know someone will say that, how you gonna do that? There have been others who've been there a lot longer than you. How are you gonna double the endowment? I'm reminded of a poem that said, they said that it couldn't be done, but he with a chuckle replied that maybe it couldn't, but he would be one that wouldn't say so until he tried. So he buckled right in with a trace of a grin on his face. If he worried, he hid it. He started to sing as he tackled that thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. That's all I really came here to say, to give you a snapshot. I could talk about Livingstone College all day. You learned a little bit about me, who I am, but more importantly, you learned about Livingstone College. Here it is, and I close with my favorite quote. If service is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you. Thank you for your time. I'm Dr. Anthony J. Davis, the 13th president of Livingstone College.